Reddit, what's the dumbest geography related thing you heard anyone say or ask? I'll start. When I was in junior high, a classmate told me there were 4 continents: America, Europe, Australia, and Africa. When I mentioned Asia, he said, "What's Asia?" I asked him where he thought India, China, and Japan were, and he told me they were in Europe, and looked at me as if I were dumb. A friend of mine told me that the capital of Canada is Toronto, which I suppose wouldn't be so bad if we weren't Canadian and living in Ottawa at the time. In my first day of English class in a U.S. college, guy sitting next to me, "So what language do y'all speak in England?" Me, well, I took German. I also did some French too, but I got my GCSE in German. Him, damn, you'll speak all those languages every day? Me, oh, I've gotcha. Well, we speak English, you know, like, people from France speak French, Germany, German. We speak English, we made up the language that you use. Him, nah, we speak English, well American, but y'all sound funny. Me, yeah. Another time, a woman asked me, "How long did it take you to learn the language? Because you talk real good." I shook and hung my head and just said not too long. Americans don't have maps. Lauren Upton, Miss Teen USA 2007. I met a young couple while eating lunch at a truck stop in Ontario, Canada. They had strong accents, but I never asked where they were from. They wanted my opinion on the fastest way to Banff National Park in Alberta. It was a Friday afternoon, and they had planned on driving there for the weekend and then returning to see Niagara Falls on Monday. When I told them that it was nearly 4,000 kilometers away and would take roughly 3 days of driving to get there, they thought I was kidding. They did not want to believe that Canada was that large and left the truck stop determined to get there before the weekend. I knew a girl who, while looking at a map of the US, shouted, "Where the hell is China on this map?" I've traveled worldwide, New York to Los Angeles and many places in between. Which way did they travel? North. A girl in high school, freshman year, the stereotypical, super hot, super dumb, bleach blonde cheerleader, once raised her hand in a geography class and said, "Why do Alaska and Hawaii have such different weather when they are so close together?" Facepalm. In camp one year, when I was about 10, we were asked if any of us were born outside the United States. One kid raised his hand and in all seriousness said, "I was born in Brooklyn." Husband, hey, you know which state has the most crime? Me, Miami. Think about it. Where are the novelty accounts when you need them? I know. I felt my IQ drop. Sad face. Oh god, this was way back when I was a kid and someone asked where I came from. I told them India, because it's close enough to the actual place. "Oh, you mean Indiana? I got some cousins back there too." He thought I was a native. I thought I was a native after that too. Imagine my surprise when I realized I was the wrong Indian. My friend telling me about his trip to Australia. My first question, "Did you drive there?" We are both Americans. In my defense, I was like 14 and realized my mistake the second the words escaped my mouth. Where I really dug myself into a hole was trying to play it off with a cover-up story. I've had a person ask me where I was from. I told them Alaska. They then proceeded to ask me why there was so much snow here when we are located next to Hawaii. I wanted to find that person's geography teacher/teachers and beat the living snot out of them. I've probably told this before. A co-worker at a gas station when I was a teenager was talking to a friend who was on leave from the Navy. "So, where have you been so far?" "We spent a few months in the Mediterranean." "Oh, so you haven't been overseas yet?" I'm still wondering where he thought the Med was. Wow, so did you get your passport stamped to go to Hawaii? What's it like going to another country? I live in Texas. It's still the US. Isn't London near China? No, China is in Lancashire. You're well off. not to me, but a friend's American relatives asked if Ireland had electricity or phones. Ah now. Wait, India is a country? Overheard at a local restaurant, a group of men walk in with their faces painted and orders their food. Then the cashier asks them, "Why are your faces painted? We are Norwegian and we are celebrating one of our holidays. Where is Norwegia?" The guy looks totally confused and everyone around is laughing. She turns to one of the people behind her and says, "It is Norwegia, right?" Sophomore year of high school, a girl sitting behind me was asked to simply name all of the continents of the world on the first day. She started with the United States. Another one, each of us Americans who assumes the term Asian can only apply to Chinese, Japanese, Korean, Taiwanese, and maybe Vietnamese, Filipinos, or Thais. Example. Co-worker, he was the Asian one. Me, the guy who was Indian or Chinese. Co-worker, the Asian one, I said. Alaska and Hawaii aren't states. If they were, we'd have 52. Duh. Friend's sister in undergrad. She's now has 2 kids with a guy named Colton. High school. Teacher asks what's the largest country in South America. Her answer stuck with me because she said it with the certainty of someone asked which way was down. China, of course. It was just such confidence it took 15 people and a globe to get her to admit she wasn't right. Not sure if she really believed she was wrong though. The other week, someone I know was asked what's the capital of Egypt and replied, "The Nile." Oh, you're from India. Isn't that near Mexico? Dumb girl from high school. Someone once asked me how long it took to drive from England to Belgium, which in itself is a harmless question, but when I said well it depends on if you go by ferry or train, she replied with, "But why would you need a ferry? Is there a lake?" Yep. A coworker once asked me, "Is Korea in Japan or China?" Relevant username. I used to live in Korea and would troll people with that question sometimes while there. I grew up in Niagara Falls, Canada. Tourists come across the border in July with ski racks and get all sad-faced when they don't see mounds of snow, moose, igloos, dog sleds, maple syrup everywhere. Some of them live in New York State, 30 seconds away. Also, many claim to not understand our complicated money. Pro tip, it's the same as yours. No, France is part of Great Britain. A girl correcting another person. Senior in high school from a decent school. I was in Mexico a few years back and this 46-ish-year-old American woman asked me if we have grass in Canada. Not the kind you smoke, the kind that grows on the ground. A girl I work with isn't really the sharpest tool in the shed. One of our lunch servers went to Uganda to help work with kids who have hydrocephalus and spina bifida, from which Danny suffers from as well, but not confined to a wheelchair. Anyways, when the girl I work with realized he was gone, her response was, "Danny is in Uganda? I thought he went to Africa." I overheard, "You can't drive to Alaska. It's an island, stupid."